If you're pouring your heart into your podcast, but still struggling to turn those listeners into paying clients, I've got something just for you. Imagine having a clear, simple plan to turn your listeners into buyers without relying on a huge audience or spending hours on social media. That's exactly what we'll create together in a podcast profit plan discovery call. During this free 20-minute call, I'll help you discover more opportunities for profit in your podcast and give you the next best step to turn your show into a client attracting machine. If I've got an offer that will help you expedite this process, then we can also discuss working together. Book your free podcast profit plan discovery call now by going to podcastingformoms.co/profit plan or by clicking the link in the show notes. I can't wait to chat with you. Feeling like your podcast has lost a little steam this summer? Maybe downloads are down, your energy's off, you're just not as excited to hit record? Don't worry, you don't need to completely scrap your show. You just need a reset. In this episode, I'm walking you through exactly what to review, refresh, or retire so you can head into the second half of the year with clarity, confidence, and a plan that actually works for your life as a busy mom. Let's reignite your momentum starting today, and let's get into the episode. Welcome to Podcasting for Moms, the show for moms in business ready to start, grow, and scale a podcast that turns their listeners into buyers. I'm Jenny Sonneson, a podcast strategist and fellow mom entrepreneur. You're in the right place if you want to learn how to start and grow a podcast that attracts your ideal clients and really does the heavy lifting for you when it comes to selling your offers, all while balancing life as a busy mom. Are you ready to create a podcast that grows your income, impact, and influence? Let's make podcasting work for you because as moms, we know how to get things done. All right, let's jump into the episode. Hey, welcome back to Podcasting for Moms. I'm Jenny Sonneson, your podcast strategist and fellow mom navigating the messy, magical world of motherhood and entrepreneurship. Today, we're diving into one of my favorite kinds of episodes, the mid-year reset. Whether your podcast has been cruising along or feeling a little bit chaotic, this episode is your permission slip to pause, reflect, and realign with your goals for the rest of the year. We're talking about what to review, refresh, or retire in your podcast and how to do it without overwhelm. Grab your notebook or Google Doc or just mentally check in because by the end of the episode, you'll have a clear plan to move forward with intention. Let's get into it. So the first step in your podcast reset is to review. I want you to review what's already been working and what hasn't. So here is what I recommend taking a look at. The first thing is your numbers. So we have downloads. Are they growing steadily? Have they stalled? Are they dipping? Get a pulse check on your downloads. As I'm sure you know, I talk about this all the time. Downloads are not the only growth metric, but it is good to keep an eye on them. Then I want you to take a look at your top episodes. So which episodes have performed the best so far this year? Look at your content type, the title, the topic, and timing, and kind of just take a look and maybe write down your top 3 to 5 episodes from this year. Then I want you to take a look at your listener retention. So Apple Podcast has something called your listener retention rate. You can check that out. It's only in Apple Podcasts as of now. So, obviously it's not showing all of your listeners because not all your listeners are listening in Apple. However, take a look in Apple Podcasts and see your listener retention rate. Check and see where people are dropping off. If they're dropping off halfway through your episode, maybe you can make them shorter or some other tweaks that you can make. So take a look at that in Apple Podcast Connect and take note of all of that. I want you to remember, we're not judging ourselves. We're observing. These numbers are just information. We shouldn't use them to be like, oh no, I'm a failure and turn it into a massive spiral. It should be just to collect that information. The second thing you want to look at is your audience feedback. Have you received DMs, emails, or reviews that give you clues about what your listeners love? If not, maybe it's time to ask them. Do a quick poll, survey, or drop a "what do you want more of" question in your next episode. The third thing you want to look at is your workflow and energy. What's feeling easy for you? What's draining you? And where do you get stuck or fall behind? Often the issue isn't your content, it's the process around it. Quick tip here, if your batching system is non-existent or your editing takes you 3 hours, that is a red flag to address in the refresh section. So take a minute, go through all that, and then come back. Now it's time to talk about the refresh. So once you're reviewed, it is time to refresh. Think of this like giving your podcast a glow up, not a total makeover, just a strategic zhuzh. So here are some refresh ideas. So the first thing you can refresh is your visuals. Does your cover art still reflect your brand and vibe? Could your graphics use a seasonal update? Even small tweaks can breathe new life into your show. Then we have your episode structure. Are your intros too long? Are you repeating the same call to actions over and over? Try streamlining your format or testing a fresh segment like a mini tip of the week, listener shout out, or behind the scenes story. Next is your show description and titles. I want you to revisit your show description. Is it still accurate? Is there keywords in there for podcast SEO? If not, make some changes. If not, make some changes and add some keywords and kind of revamp your show description a bit. You can also try updating your episode titles to be more curiosity-driven or benefit-focused. Sometimes one small word change can boost downloads. The next thing you want to take a look at is your systems. This is the perfect time to refresh your workflow. So you can create templates for your show notes or graphics, batch record your episodes for the next 4 to 6 weeks, and automate your guest follow-up process. Small system shifts equals big time savings for busy moms like us. Now for the part we often avoid, letting things go. Sometimes we keep doing something simply because we always have, but that's not sustainable. So I want you to ask yourself these questions. What's not serving me or my audience anymore? Maybe it's a segment that you dread, a promotion that flopped, or an episode style that just feels a little off. Give yourself permission to pause or retire anything that doesn't align with your vision anymore. The second question to ask yourself is, what could I pause for now without quitting entirely? You don't have to delete or scrap something forever. You can shelf it for a season while you focus on what's lighting you up. So, for example, if guest interviews are just feeling way too time-consuming to manage, take a break and do only solo episodes and come back to guests later. So, let's talk about your mid-year reset checklist. So let's simplify everything we covered today in a quick checklist. Review your numbers, feedback, and workflow. Refresh your visuals, format, titles, and systems. And retire anything that's draining you or no longer feeling aligned. This reset isn't about perfection, it's about intention. And the best part is that you get to shape what the rest of your year looks like for your podcast and your business. If you want a second set of eyes on your podcast strategy, make sure to join the Moms Behind the Mic Society for support, templates, and trainings that make podcasting feel doable again. I'm cheering you on as you reset, refresh, and realign. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Podcasting for Moms. If this mid-year reset inspired you, make sure to take a screenshot and tag me on Instagram at jenny.sundison and share your biggest takeaway. Until next time, keep showing up, even in the messy middle. I'll see you then. Thank you for tuning into Podcasting for Moms. I hope today's episode gave you the tools and inspiration you need to make your podcast work smarter, not harder. If you love what you heard, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. It means the world and helps other moms in business find the show. For more tips, resources, and support, head to podcastingformoms.co. Remember, you're not just building a podcast, you're building your legacy. Until next time, friends.